Sandra, listen to me. You need to get out of there.
Yeah, Sandra, you need to evacuate. Not only because there's toxic gas plummeting towards you, but because nuclear reactors pose a serious threat to public safety and the lack of a real way to dispose of any nuclear waste. Do you hear me?
I hear you, we're coming!
I'll meet them down there myself. Put the safety doors on manual override.
No, I cannot do that! Keep the doors open! My wife is still in there!
Well, nuclear energy is created by a process called nuclear fission. By colliding a neutron into an extremely unstable isotope, that isotope instantly breaks into two smaller segments, each producing and shooting forward their own neutron to continue the reaction. When each isotope is split in half, it produces heat and in turn is produced into steam. This steam is converted to electricity for people to use. This occurs in the fusion cells inside uranium rods located inside the cooling tanks contained within the reactor. Nuclear reactors have commercially produced power on the electric grid since the 1960s and currently contribute to 19.5% of the energy produced in the US and 10.9% of the world's energy production. An interesting example of this is the largest and most productive reactor in the US, which is located in Palo Verde, Arizona, and is the first to use treated wastewater as the cooling water for nuclear reactions. It's the first reactor located not next to a large body of water, and this one plant alone contributes to 35% of the energy generated in Arizona. The most famous examples of nuclear incidents are because they are the most damaging and most serious that have ever occurred. Chernobyl's disaster resulted in 49,000 people being evacuated, and the Fukushima meltdown resulted in 149,000 people being evacuated due to the earthquake, tsunami, and radiation that the reactor released. Nuclear safety is a serious threat for the safety of others and the safety of the environment. For approximately 200,000 years, the areas around Chernobyl are going to be inhabitable. The story of Ron Fountain proves just how dangerous the radiation and accidents like these can cause. He was a plant operator at the 3 Mile Island reactor in Pennsylvania when the partial meltdown occurred. 140,000 people were evacuating at the time, including Ron's family, but he stayed behind to help fix the reactor before it got more serious. Traveling to the main reactor room during the catastrophe, Ron left the control room to try and find the main shutoff valve, but as soon as he left, he began hyperventilating and nearly lost consciousness. His radiation levels were immensely high, but continued to look and finally managed to turn it off. He saved the reactor and the whole surrounding area by turning a valve, but Ron later died from lethal doses of radiation from the leakage along with multiple others trying to help. Currently, there is no short-term way to break down and completely get rid of nuclear waste. The only solution the US government currently employs is burying nuclear waste far below the surface in containers. This, however, is not a solution by any means, as at any point in the future, radioactive material could leak into the soil or even be stolen. The sites where this waste is kept is minimally guarded and is just as deadly as normal radioactive rods. These are called dirty bombs when a nuclear device is created from the remains of spent fuel and control rods. Radioactive waste sticks around for thousands of years, so simply holding this waste is not really disposing of it. A typical plant produces 20 metric tons of nuclear waste each year, and in total about 2,000 to 2,300 tons of waste is produced annually. There have also been numerous accounts of deaths from the handling of nuclear waste, including John Burns, Richard McKinley, and Richard Legg, 3 technicians that all died from a containment drone of waste being exposed to their hands. They were so heavily radiated that their hands had to be buried separately from their bodies, and their coffins were interned with lead.